Hi, I'm Mike Thompson. I represent California's 4th Congressional District, and I'm here today at work in Washington, D.C. in the Capitol building, and I'm with a good friend and a colleague, Maxwell from Florida, from Orlando, Florida.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here.
It's really a joy to be able to talk with you this morning and share some of our thoughts with our constituents.
Yeah.
And we just came back from a great meeting, I think, on our shared issue of gun violence prevention. You have a history of this. You were in a school situation where it really heightened your interest and your knowledge on this. You've been an organizer before you came to Congress and trying to make sure that we address the issue of gun violence. And you're on the committee on the task force with me, and we've done a lot of good things together. Yeah. I think something that really is important is your work to establish the Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the White House. Sadly, that's gone away now, but there was a time when gun violence prevention was a much higher priority than it is now, and you did great work in that regard. And we've been able to accomplish a few things working on this. It's an uphill battle. We did the Safer Communities Act, which really helped a lot, the biggest gun violence prevention measure in 30 years, and we're seeing some very positive effect from that. But today was a little different approach to this thing. We met with a movie star, Jason George, who was on Grey's Anatomy and Station 19, and the people from Brady. And they talked about an initiative that they're working on that is been successful, has been well received, and is really having some impact, and that's promoting gun safety on television.
Yep.
You were there. What do you think?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's so good to be here, and I think it's an amazing program that essentially is trying to figure out ways to showcase gun safety and obviously the impacts of gun violence, but in culture and in media, which I think is very important. We know more and more people are getting more and more of their news online from social media, and for generations Americans have gotten a lot of their social cues and the way they really view the world through culture and through art. And I think it is very important for us to figure out ways not to infiltrate something, not to use something for political reasons, but to be a part of the conversation and ensure that we can showcase what gun safety really looks like in media. And that's what Brady and what this campaign is doing. I actually joined Brady at the Sundance Film Festival with this same campaign to talk about this to screenwriters, showrunners, executive producers. And, you know, when we first walked in the room, a few of them were like, "Are you just going to tell us to take guns out of shows?" And I was like, well, you know, of course, that'd be great if we don't, you know. But we also want to be taken seriously by people. And so part of it is saying, look, it's not about asking you to omit things. It's actually asking you to add things. If you're going to have a gun, showcase gun safety. What does it look like when the police officer comes home? Instead of throwing the gun on the counter, he puts it in a safe, right? If someone is shot in your show or your movie, you know, what does it look like for the person to not just get up and continue on with their day like a lot of these shows do? But how do you show the real impacts of gun violence on families, on people, on the human body? And all of this is really important as we fight here in D.C. to pass good gun laws. We know the public is already with us on this, but I think the more we can attack it from different ways, the more successful we'll be.
I agree with you 100%. And the idea that they can influence behavior, showcase doing the right things, and make that acceptable with the viewing public. No mandate, no government dollars. It's just people coming together to do the right thing because they recognize that gun violence is a terrible thing. It's the #1 killer of children and teens. It costs a ton of money. And that's money, when you're spending billions and billions of dollars responding to gun violence and the medical bills that are associated with that, those are dollars you can't spend other places. So the fact that the Screenwriters Guild has accepted this challenge, and they're doing such a good job with it, I thought it was very impressive.
Yeah, and the cool thing is this movement's really expanding, right? We see it in film, we're seeing it in music now too. There's a very famous artist named Quavo, who's part of this group called Migos, And Quavo lost one of his siblings to gun violence, who was actually also part of Migos. And so he started an organization called Rocket Foundation, and they work at promoting CVI, community violence intervention. And it's really cool. They just hired a new executive director, Greg Jackson, the former deputy director of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Yep. And so we see that artists have really taken up this mantle. We have this like motto in our office that we want to figure out ways to bridge the gap between cool and consciousness, right? And I think through this Brady film program that we just talked about, through what's going on with musicians, I think we're moving in that direction in terms of gun violence prevention, but also on many other issues as well.
And they showed one of the films where they talked about extreme risk orders. And it was an actor explaining to an actress, in this case a first responder, explaining to the mother of a troubled child how filing for an extreme risk protection order would in fact help her son. And I thought that was a good thing to showcase as well, because most people that I know, irrespective of where they stand in the traditional line of for guns or against guns, everybody, I think, is for gun safety and making our communities safer. So I think we're onto something here.
Yeah, me too. I mean, one of my favorite statistics is that most Republicans are for universal background checks, and most NRA members are for universal background checks.
It's like 68% of NRA members support universal background checks, and 92% of the American public supports universal background checks.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're on the right side.
On the right side.
So. Well, there's a lot happening right now in Washington. I'm sure that when you go home to Florida every weekend, as I go home to California every weekend, we're probably hearing the same things. People are concerned. One of the things that I hear a lot about, and it's music to my ears, because I believe that the biggest problem that we face as a people is the issue of climate change.
Yeah.
If we get everything else right and we mess this up, it'll be for naught.
Yeah.
So it is incumbent upon all of us to do everything we can to make for an environment and a climate that will sustain populations going forward. And as you know, I did the legislation, was part of the Inflation Reduction Act, was my Green Act, that used the tax code to promote renewable energy. We're seeing tremendous success from this. Everything measurable, from the amount of pollution to the amount of jobs, everything from manufacturing jobs to installation jobs, and to lower utility costs across the country.
Yep.
And sadly, in this administration and in this Congress, we have a majority party and an administration that's trying to do away with these tax provisions. And it's going to be to the detriment not only of future generations in regard to a cleaner planet, but in regard to jobs in areas where jobs are critical, in regard to lower energy bills. And in Florida is a big recipient of this. You have a lot of renewable energy work going on right now. And are you hearing about this as well?
Oh yeah, I'm hearing about it all the time. And I think, it's interesting because the climate movement for a long time always spoke in the kind of vernacular of the future, right? We need to protect the future, protect the future, protect the future. And now we talk about it as the present because it's here, right? I mean, we're feeling the impacts here. It's not just polar bears and ice caps anymore. I mean, it's communities in California, it's communities in Florida. I mean, we had one of our worst hurricane seasons last year where we had multiple 100-year hurricanes, which are hurricanes that are only supposed to happen once every 100 years. And we had multiple of those just last year and over the last several years. And I actually did this very interesting thing because I'm on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. I had this offer to go and take a ride with the Hurricane Hunters, which is a group with NOAA and the National Weather Service. And they actually go into the hurricanes and drop beacons and radars and different things like that to help us figure out final mile evacuations and everything. So I took them up on this. I didn't listen to my parents or girlfriend when they asked me not to do it. And I'm
glad you came back.
I came back, and I went on this 9-hour flight when we went into Hurricane Milton multiple times, and it was a life-changing experience for me. And I learned just about how important it is for us to fund these programs because the climate crisis is already here. And the data that we get from these hurricanes can help us figure out how we can craft better legislation to make sure that we prevent it from getting worse. People are being displaced now. I have a very large constituency of Puerto Ricans. They're actually, many of these folks are part of what I call the largest group of climate refugees in the United States. Because of Hurricane Maria that happened, they were forced out of the island and had to come to Central Florida, many of them. And so it's impacting people, it's impacting businesses now. And so we have to act. Of course, resilience measures to protect our communities. California greatly impacted by the climate crisis. But we also have to continue to pass legislation like yours and like the great work you did in the Inflation Reduction Act so we can incentivize the new green economy. And I'm glad you brought up the jobs piece because I feel like a lot of times people will label this effort as a job killer or something that's going to, put working families in a bind. It's not true. And this is actually one of the few times I feel like it is a win-win situation everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a whole economy that exists here that we can tap into and that our people can get good paying jobs to help us build the infrastructure we need to take care of our planet.
And I'm glad you brought up NOAA. I have nonstop meetings in my office the last couple of days because we have something in my region of California. It's called Cap to Cap, and it references people from the capital of California, Sacramento, and my district's contiguous with Sacramento. So it's a regional effort where folks come out to lobby the administration and to lobby Congress on issues that are important. And one of the groups that I met with yesterday is the group that deals with flood protection. And Sacramento has the Sacramento River. It's got many miles of levee, like all levees across the United States. You don't just fix them once and carry on.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing issue. And they rely greatly on NOAA. They need to know the weather predictions so they can release water from some of the dams. You don't want to be in a situation where you're releasing water and then the dam's not going to be filled back up. So they coordinate the releases with the projected rainfall. It manages the river, it manages water supply. It's extremely important for agriculture.
Yeah.
My district is largely agriculture. It's the number one industry in my district.
Wow.
And farmers depend upon those
yeah.
weather reports. The Farmer's Almanac is great reading, and it served a purpose at one point, but we've gone beyond the almanac. And then my old district includes the whole north coast of California where the salmon fishing is so critical, and water, no fish, no water, no farms. And NOAA is a key player in making sure that lives across the United States are safer and better. And the idea that we're talking about defunding NOAA is frightening.
Yeah, and we've already had major staff cuts and firings happen at NOAA across across Florida, including a lot of key people in the National Weather Service. I mean, it makes no sense, and I know that the great people of NOAA will still work at keeping us safe this upcoming hurricane season, but they're going to be doing it with much less capacity, and I think there's zero room for error here because we're talking about losing lives and people being displaced, and unfortunately, I think this problem is going to get worse in terms of the climate crisis over the next 4 years, and we'll be seeing a president that not only is he doing nothing to prevent it, but he's actively making this situation worse for our people. And so I'm sure both of us will keep talking about it.
And it's going to have an impact on future employment. Scientists are going to be reluctant to come to work for the good agencies,
government,
such as NOAA. We're seeing it with FEMA as well. And I don't know a time when we've been able to dodge a disaster. It may not be in your district, it may not be in mine right now, but it's someplace. And FEMA is so critical in responding to this. So we got a lot of work to do.
We do.
And I'm just glad that you're here and we're able to work together to get it done. So
thank you. Proud to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
You bet. Thank you.
Good to see you.